Well, fresh from his trip to Washington, D.C., the Prime Minister is now preparing to take off to Beijing. Joining us live is Gordon Flake. He's the CEO of the Perth USAsia Centre, joining us today from Japan. Good to see you, Gordon. This is the first talks we're going to see in some 7 years in Beijing between China's president and an Australian Prime Minister. That's an awful lot to catch up on. What do you expect the Prime Minister's priorities will be?
Well, first and foremost, reconnecting and celebrating the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relationships, or the earlier first visit by an Australian Prime Minister. Obviously, there's a lot on the agenda, ongoing concern about Chinese economic coercion of Australia, so continuing tariffs on some Australian products and trying to ease the economic pain that Australia has been feeling since 2019, 2020. There continue to be Australians detained in China. I think that we all collectively breathed a sigh of relief when Cheng Lei was released a couple of weeks ago, but Yang Hengjun is still there, so that will clearly be on the agenda. But more broadly, just trying to establish a new baseline. As you mentioned, it's been since 2016 since an Australian Prime Minister has been in China, and it's an important relationship.
Another important relationship, I mentioned you're in Japan. I understand you're with the WA Premier Roger Cook, who's talking trade there this week. Don Farrell at a federal level has also been there as well this week. How important is Japan as a market, especially in light of that vacuum from the China trade bans we've seen in recent years?
Well, look, I think the mantra in Australia for the last 5 years has been diversify, 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 just because we increasingly recognize the risk associated with having such a concentration of our economic exchange, trade, other activity with one single country. And Japan, the second or third largest economy in the world, rather, is a very important market. It's a very important historical market. Perhaps more importantly, investment's important. So one commonality between my time in Washington, D.C. last week and my visit in Tokyo this week, including that the particular focus of the Western Australian Premier, Roger Cook, has been on critical materials, critical minerals, rare earth, supply chains that are so important to energy transition, to future batteries. And clearly, Japan has a very important role to play in that going forward.
So we have parallels clearly on the economic front. What about the security front? Because there's some sort of interesting activity going on in terms of cooperation there.
Yeah, so it's interesting that both, obviously, Japan and Australia are treaty allies of the United States. We're in different parts of the Pacific, or the Indo-Pacific, one on the top, one on the bottom, but we both have shared concerns about China's role in the region, particularly the South China Seas, increasingly the Indian Ocean. And both Australia and Japan are working together with the United States and other allies of the United States and other like-minded partners to try to reinforce the status quo, to ensure that there is stability that is not upset here in the region. And as a result, both Australia and Japan are working together ever more closely with the United States on the security front.
Gordon Flake, always appreciate your analysis. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.